All right, let's get going. So just kind of how this is going to work. Well, this will take probably 40, 45 minutes. At the end of it, I'll answer any questions anybody has. Um, if you have questions, just put them in chat. I'll review them every once in a while. And yeah, let's get going. So this is all part of our tattoo shop growth program. We are a marketing company. We work exclusively with tattoo shops, say here in the U.S., but we do have a shop in New Zealand. So, but mostly here in the U.S. Personally, I've been getting tattooed for about 19 years since, you know, back when all there were pretty much were street shops and you just walked in and you got in the chair, you got tattooed and you got out. As everybody knows, it's a very different world today. The industry has changed very drastically. I mean, even in the last 2 to 3 years since COVID has changed drastically, and it's projected to double again by 2029, which is absolutely nuts. So a lot of this stuff that we're going to talk about is fairly standard practice in most industries. And as you guys know, the tattoo industry is probably mid 90s, early 2000s when it comes to marketing and stuff like that. So doing the things that we talk about in here are going to put you, I mean, just so far ahead of other shops and what they're doing. And it's a lot of little, small, simple things that anybody can do. There's no crazy tactics that take all this time to set up. It's a lot of really easy stuff. And like I said, with the industry projected to double by 2029, the stuff that we're talking about now is going to be standard practice in the next 6 years when this industry gets so much more competitive. I mean, depending where you're at, I'm sure you've seen a decent amount of new shops pop up the last couple of years. So what's it going to be like when there's double the amount of shops in your town? Especially if you're in a place like Colorado where there's no regulations. You can get a machine off Amazon, you can rent a place, and you're a tattoo artist. It's become extremely competitive across the US, but especially in these states, and we're seeing the rest of them kind of come like that. So this is the high level of what we do for the shops that we work with. Bringing in new clients is obviously the bread and butter. It's what we're great at. It's what most shops want, but also bringing back past clients. This is something that really gets not talked about enough and kind of just left behind. If somebody's already come into your shop and they've had a great experience, it is very easy to get them back into your shop for another tattoo. You know, people will pretty much use any kind of excuse to get a tattoo. So if you give them a little incentive, they'll come back in. So getting new clients, bringing in past clients, and then building a brand locally. Like it's great if you have 100,000 followers, but if they're all over the country, all over the world, doesn't do a ton for the actual shop. You get a lot more if you had 4 to 5,000 followers within 15 minutes of your shop. So actually building your shop's brand and letting people know who you are. And we use social media for that. It's very effective versus more traditional things. So if you're actually interested in this stuff, highly recommend turning off your phones, turning off social media. Have something to take notes. We will send out a replay in about a week when we get it edited, but highly recommend taking notes, especially a few key parts that we'll talk about. So what we're actually going to go over today is knowing the most important numbers, your client's LTV, which is the lifetime value of a client. Not a lot of shops know this. I would say less than 1%. And it is really what can drive your marketing, what you can spend to acquire a new client. So knowing a client's lifetime value is extremely important. Your past client list, anybody that comes and gets tattooed, they have to fill out a consent form or a waiver to get tattooed. The tattoo industry is one of the few industries that you have to fill out a waiver before you get tattooed or before you have to work with the person. So you're automatically building this past client list. You literally have to, and nobody does anything with it. There's so much gold in this. And that's probably one of the number one things that if you take anything away from this today, it's how to set this up to start getting a past client list set up. Your Google My Business, setting that up correctly, using social media ads to get more clients, to build your brand. We'll go over Google ads really quickly and a few other little things. We're going to touch on a lot of topics. We've done webinars where we go more deep into like actually running social media ads, setting them up, and we'll send all the links after this. All right, so who am I? My name is Jesse Drock. I am the owner of InkLink. We're a marketing company, again, that works exclusively with tattoo shops. We specialize in direct response marketing, which would be like social media ads. Like, we want to know how much it costs for somebody to fill out a consultation request, someone to actually put down a deposit, how much it costs for somebody to actually sit in your chair. That's direct response marketing, where we can say, hey, we're going to put in $1 into marketing, we're going to get $5 out. And we also do a lot of branding stuff. And again, that's with social media. I personally have been in marketing for about 8 years now, 7 years. I've built 2 7-figure businesses off of it in the last 4 years. And in last year, I grew a third business to 6 figures in 2.5 months, like on the back of what we're going to talk about. I know this stuff works. We see a lot of the bigger shops that are really successful doing this stuff. So it's, we, one, practice what we preach. We're not going to teach you anything that we don't do. And 2, we know it works in practice because we do it for our clients and we see the bigger, more successful shops actually doing this stuff. Let's see. All right. And before anybody asks, because I get this question all the time, yes, I am tattooed. I've been getting tattooed for about 19 years. I've been tattooed all over the world. I love this industry. I love the people. Yeah. And we are InkLink. This is a couple of the core guys. These are a couple of my managers. If you have any interest in setting up a free consultation, seeing if we'd be a good fit for your shop, like, we don't do a big salesy thing in our webinars. We'll let you know now. We'll let you know at the end. You can scan this QR code. You can go to inklink.com, ink-link.com if you want to set up a free consultation. We'll see if we can help you guys. Yeah, that's about it. So let's get going. So why is this stuff important? Well, like I said, this is going to put you ahead of like 95% of other shops. Almost nobody does this stuff. And again, with how much the industry is growing, the stuff that we're talking about now is going to be standard practice in 4 to 6 years when the industry is ridiculously competitive. I mean, as we've seen this huge shift the last 5 years, the last 3 years, you got kids, I'll say, realizing they can make a really good living as a tattoo artist. The whole industry has changed. So with more and more people getting into it, there's going to be a lot more competition, and doing this stuff will set you apart. So, and essentially, this is marketing 101. Like I said, this is the basic stuff that everybody should be doing. And the last one, why is this important? Because you're wasting money, especially if you're already doing paid ads. I say less than 3% of shops that we've worked with or that we are working with have their ads set up correctly. And it's usually just a guessing game. Shops don't know if their ads are working, if it's actually bringing people in. So we're going to show you how to actually know that your ads are working. Places like Meta, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Google, they all have amazing analytics tools, but nobody really uses them, at least in the tattoo industry. All right, the most important number for any tattoo shop owner or artist to know is a client's lifetime value. That is, on average, how much a new client is going to spend at your shop over their lifetime. So why is this important? It lets you know how much you can spend to get a new client. I mean, if the average lifetime value of a client is $800, you can spend $60 to $100 to acquire a new client. Like, a lot of people, shop owners, tattoo artists, get very stuck on, okay, how much are they going to get on their first tattoo? It's great. It's good to know. But what's the actual lifetime value? Anybody, any other industry, any other business, this is what you go off of. This is what we go off of. We don't go off of what we're going to make month 1 when we work with a tattoo shop. We go, how long do tattoo shops work with us? How much do they spend? In McDonald's, any industry does this. It's great to know how much on average a client is going to spend the first time they come in. But the lifetime value is key to knowing what you can spend and, how successful your shop is. Also, after you know that lifetime value, it's really easy to put things in place to raise the lifetime value. Like, if you get somebody in one more time, you're getting your lifetime value raised like 25, 30%. So know the lifetime value. So how do you figure that out? I wouldn't suggest guessing. I've asked shop owners who don't know, what's the average tattoo price? And on average, how many times does a client come back? And usually the answer I get is wildly different than the actual answer when we look at the numbers. So how you do this, any type of payment processing software that you're using, Stripe, Square, anything, you can go in there into their dashboard and you can look all this stuff up in a report, and it's fairly easy. But you need to do this. This is day one, like stuff that has, like, you need to know. So just go back as far as you can look, and divide the amount of revenue your shop has made by the number of clients. Not how many tattoos have been done, but the actual number of clients. And you'll get an approximate lifetime value. Now, when it comes to the lifetime value, what you can spend to acquire a new client, you want to be about 6 to 12%. So what does that mean? If your average lifetime value of a new client is $1,000, you can spend $60 to $120 to acquire a new client. Those are kind of the golden numbers that you want to follow. Again, obviously the lower the better, but yeah, that's huge to know. Can I ask in the chat, does anybody know the lifetime value of their clients? Put a 1 if you do, a 2 if you do not. Okay, so one person is at least close. But if you look through the chat, you can see 1.5. That works. Not a lot of people know this. Not a lot of shop owners know this, but it's a really key metric to know. Obviously, there's a huge range of, people coming in to get a shop minimum to people getting a full back piece. But just knowing the average is gold. It's a must know metric. So like I said, I already went through this example, but stereotypically you can spend 6 to 12% to acquire a new client. So if you're running Google ads, if you're running social media ads, if your LTV, your lifetime value of a new client, is $1,000, you can spend $60 to $120. And obviously it depends how you are doing stuff with your artist, but if you're doing a percentage and you're 60-40 or you're 50-50, even 70-30, factor all that stuff in. But this is the golden rule. And this is how you can scale. It might be $60 to $120 coming out of your pocket that, would be profit if it was word of mouth or something like that. But this is how you can scale. This is starting to move into that quantity, and getting more new clients in that would have never heard of your shop if you weren't advertising. So you're willing to take a little bit less profit. Now, the absolute easiest way to make your shop more profitable, make you more money, make your artist more money, is to raise the lifetime value. Now, a lot of people talk about, okay, charge more, raise your rates, $25, $50 an hour. Like, that's great. That's awesome. Honestly, most tattoo artists could do that and there would be no problem. But the real easy way without raising your prices is just to get them to come back more. Get them to come back one more time. Again, that raises the lifetime value 20, 30, 50% if somebody's only coming in once or twice. So one of the biggest things to raise that lifetime value, get your clients back in more. And we'll go over next how we do that with shops we work with. So over that. All right. Building a past client list. Knowing your LTV is great. Highly recommend it. It takes, even if you don't know your software that you're using, you go online and figure it out. It takes 20, 30 minutes and you'll know that number forever. It's worth the time to do it. The next most important thing, if you take one thing besides finding out the lifetime value of the client, is your shop, it is this. This is the easiest thing you can do. And there's so much gold in it. Just as an example, we started working with a shop a few months ago. They had a huge past client list that they had never done anything with. So we sent out a text offering 10% off if they came in and put down a deposit within the next, I think it was 10 days. They booked 44 appointments in the first week. They got 44 deposits in the first week using their past client list. And these are people that have already come in, they've had a good experience. So this is gold. This is gold. I got one more question for you guys before we move on. One in the chat if you're using paper for your consent forms or your waivers. Two in the chat if you are online using any kind of software to do it. Hmm? Okay, so mostly ones, couple of twos. All right, we're going to show you how to move that online. And just so everybody knows, because I know depending on what state you're in, the laws can be different with your health inspector. But as long as you can produce a copy and you can go print it out, we haven't seen an issue in any state doing this. There's, if they want to see one for a certain name, you can go look it up in the software. It's super easy to do that. You can print them all out on demand. So we've never seen an issue with a health inspector with this. I know some people are hesitant about that because of that reason, but we've never seen an issue as long as you can print it out, which with any software you can. All right, and so mostly ones, most of the people not. So if you're going to take action on one thing, this is it, and we'll tell you why. Because again, there's magic in this past client list. So what can you do with a past client list, and what do we do with the shops that we work with? So first thing, obviously, you're building that past client list online. There's a ton of cool things you can do with it. What we do is when somebody fills out a waiver for a shop that we're working with, 24 hours, they will automatically get a text from the shop saying, hey, if you had a good time at our shop, please leave us a review on Google with a link to their Google My Business. And if you didn't have a good, or you're not happy, get a hold of us. We'll make it right. Something along those lines. You cannot imagine an easier way to get more 5-star reviews on Google. It's a game changer. I mean, artists don't typically want to ask, and I understand it feels weird asking for a review on Google, and then people forget. It's not the most effective way. And when we switch shops over to this, now it's automated. It goes out no matter what. People are always excited about their tattoos and more than happy to give a review. Game changer. I'll show you an example in a little bit, but we had a shop who's been, it's actually a friend of mine who owns a shop, had his shop for 10 years here in town, and he had like 72 reviews with a 4.6. And like we started this 4 months ago or so, and he's got now 223, I believe, with a 4.9. And again, it's all automated. So sending out a text asking for a review, sending out a $50 coupon is another thing we do after somebody gets tattooed. So they'll get the review, and then a day later, they'll get the text for the review, and then a day later, they'll text, hey, if you have any friends or family looking for a new tattoo artist or looking for a new shop or it's their first tattoo, bring this in. We'll give them $50 off their first tattoo if it's at least $250 or something like that. And that goes back to knowing that lifetime value of a client. Most shops will pay $50 to get a new client in the door. That's a no-brainer, especially if they don't know the shop, they've never been in there before. It's a really good way, and it just kind of snowballs. It's just one of those added layers to help build the shop. Standing out is another thing you can do with this past client. Send out a text for somebody's birthday. We do this for shops. I don't know any other shop that does this. If somebody's birthday, they'll get a text from the shop saying, hey, happy birthday. Come on in for a free hat or something, $50 off, 10% off, just depending what the shop wants to do. But no other shops do this. This is the little things that make you stand out above a bunch of other shops. If you find a software that can, we'll go over this, that can send out text, like all of this is super easy to set up. You set it up once, it does it forever. Another thing you can do is you can send out a text or an email when you have a guest artist coming into town. You can get them booked out before they even show up. Let anybody know about upcoming events. If you're doing normally Friday the 13th stuff is pretty booked out, but any kind of events you're doing, you can let people know. You can use it as a lookalike audience on Meta. And we'll get into this a little more, but a lot of shop owners don't know this. And this is the power of Facebook and Instagram ads. Like this is the best, like the most powerful thing you can do is you can upload your past client list to Meta, and it will serve the ads for your shop to people that look like your clients. That's a game changer. That is so powerful, and it always gets the best results by far. And then getting people back in during slow season with some kind of hook, like this text I was talking about, where we sent out to a past client list that booked 44. They got 44 deposits in a week. This was just a few months ago during slow season when these guys were hurting. I mean, that's 44 in a week is pretty good, especially during slow season. Okay, softwares to use, because this is the question I get all the time after we talk about this. So our recommendation is Jotform. There's a bunch of softwares that are specialized for the tattoo industry, stuff like that. But Jotform is a huge company. Two, if you have less than 100, if your shop is doing less than 100 tattoos a month, it's 100% free. And it's super user-friendly and easy to set up. After that, if you have more, it's like $40 for 1,000 a month or something. Yeah, $39 for 1,000 a month. If you're going to take one thing away from this, go to Jotform, set up a form on there, and get some kind of cheap tablet and put it at your front desk for anybody that comes in to get tattooed. Even if you're not going to use it right now, that past client list at some point will come in handy. A few of those you can use Typeform. We use Typeform. Still recommend Jotform because it's easier to set up, and again, free for under 100. Go High Level is another software. We use that for our clients that can also text, but there's a pretty steep learning curve with it. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it, but there's a pretty steep learning curve. Then there's the specialty softwares like Tattoo Pro, Tattoo Release Forms. They tend to be more expensive because they're specialized, and I mean, they're great. I know a ton of people that use all the softwares out there, Tattoo Release Forms, Tattoo Pro. There's a handful more. They all work really well. Why, again, we like Jotform. One, it's cheaper. It's super user-friendly. And because it's a huge, like $100 million company, they're always coming out with updates. Their support is really good. So Jotform is who we recommend. And again, even if you're not going to use that list right now, you're like, man, I don't do meta ads. I don't really want to text people. It sounds like a lot to set all this stuff up. Just start with building out a farm and start collecting that information online. Because eventually, let's say next November, we're hitting slow season. It's been not the best year. Hopefully it's going to be a good year. If we're already looking good, not as bad as last year. But that's when you can come back and use this. It takes 20 minutes to set this up, and you're good for the rest of the time your shop's open. Can you put a 1 in the chat if you tell me you will do this? After we get off this, you will go to Jotform. It is free. You will set up a consent form. It's super easy. Can you put a 1 in the chat if you will do this? This is the one thing that is a game changer if you people will do this. It's awesome. All right. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, really, guys, I harp on this to anybody that even talks to us, even if they don't work with us. I'm like, dude, put this online. It's one of the easiest and yet biggest things you can do for your shop, even if you're not going to use it right now. And I appreciate all the ones. I'm going to hold you guys to that. All right. Note, if you are still on paper, which it sounds like most of you are, if you have an apprentice or you have a little extra time, start going through those filing cabinets full of waivers. Grab at least the first name and the phone number. If you want to get the email, that's awesome. If you're going to do email marketing, but I know it can be a lot. At least grab first name, phone number, start putting them into an Excel sheet, start putting them into a Google spreadsheet. Just 2 columns, first name, phone number, and then start piling them in. I know it's tedious and not super fun, but if you have an apprentice, or even if you want to do it yourself, or you have artists that are just sitting around waiting on walk-ins, once you get this uploaded, like I said, you can do everything we just talked about. And it's very easy to put it online. It's just a little time consuming. It's not as bad as it sounds, but it's worth it. If you want your shop to grow, if you want to be able to do the stuff we just talked about, it is 100%. Yeah. And so a few of these, someone had a question or mentioned HIPAA. Places like Jotform and a few of the other ones, they're like HIPAA compliant. There's stuff you can do with them. My guys have already looked into that. So just so you know. All right. Fixing your Google My Business. Oops. Don't mess that up. Cool. So first of all, if you don't have a GMB or a Google My Business, make one. It's free. It takes 10 minutes to do. And it's essentially how you show up when you Google something and you get that Google Map 3-pack. That's what it's showing as your Google My Business. Or if anybody looks for you and your Google My Business doesn't show up, that's an issue. But I also want to point out this is the shop here in town that a buddy owns that had, after 10 years, 72 reviews with a 4.6. And you can see after about it's been about 4, maybe 5 months, they have 4.9 with 222 reviews. And it's all automatic. So another good thing to do with your past client list. So fixing your Google My Business. Just make sure everything is filled out on there. We'll see them all the time. They don't have a website connected to it. They don't have their number set up. They don't have a frequently asked questions set up. So just make sure everything's filled out. Add an FAQ under the questions portion, like how much it is per hour on average. I mean, if you have a website, you probably have an FAQ on there. Just put those into the questions. Connect your social media accounts to your Google My Business. Add your website, like I said, and add good images. You can upload pictures to this that can show off the outside of your shop, the inside of your shop, the artists. A lot of time, all we'll see are, when we go to these, are pictures of the artist's work, which is great. But people want to see faces. They want to see personalities. They want to see what the shop looks like, especially if it's someone who doesn't know your shop very well, and they find you and they look at your Google My Business and your website, and there's no pictures of your shop. I mean, I've been getting tattooed for 19 years, and I still want to know that I'm going to a nice, clean shop when I go to a new one. So put pictures of the people, of your artists, smiling. Maybe not like that, but smiling. And pictures of the inside of the shop, outside of the shop, as long as the outside of the shop looks good. Definitely the inside of the shop. You can post to your Google My Business like you post to Instagram. A lot of people don't know this, but it's one of those things that shows Google you're active, and which is what Google likes to see, and it helps you rank higher organically when people search. So you just need to do that once, maybe twice a week. It's not like social media where you should post every single day. When our testing, it hasn't made a difference if you post 3 times a day, once a day, or once a week. Google just wants to see that you're doing it. And make sure you respond to all the reviews, good ones, bad ones. If they're bad ones, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but I've seen sometimes what happens, not just in the tattoo industry, but everybody. Be professional about it. Tell them if they had a bad experience. The best way to get rid of a bad review, because Google will not remove them, even if they're fake, unfortunately, or it's very, very hard to get them to. Just reach out to the person and try to get it fixed in between you guys, because that person is the only one that can change their 1-star to a 5-star. And then there are analytics in Google My Business, like there are analytics in actual Google Analytics, Facebook ads, stuff like that. You can take it a step further using something like Local Viking, which is this image over here on the left. It essentially shows you, so that the middle of it is going to be where your shop is located, and then how well you're ranking. So how Google My Business works, it's a radius thing, and the closer to the shop you are, the better you're going to be ranking for keywords like tattoo shop near me, tattoo artist, stuff like that. And so if you really want to get into this, you can set this up, start doing the things we talked about, and you'll notice that those green ones start to radiate out further. That's kind of there's a lot of better things like the past client list that you can start with, but this is something, if you're interested in the future, it's interesting to see. And it's fairly cheap. Okay, so posting to your Google My Business. So if you're using Chrome, this only works with Chrome, and you are logged in the top right to the profile that is either an admin or that created the Google My Business, all you have to do is look up your shop, and you will get this layout where you can add photos, you can respond to messages, you can edit your profile. There's a bunch of different stuff you can do. It's just a really easy way, instead of logging into Google My Business, because Google doesn't make things super easy internally. So this is a very simple way to get to all the things you want with your Google My Business, as long as you're just logged into your profile in Chrome. Okay, really quick, does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. Okay, so Frankie, if you're using StabPad for your releases, yes, you can download any of these softwares will let you download either an Excel file or a CSV, but you can download it and then upload it into a texting software. Or if you want to get crazy, there's a tool called Zapier, and it's a little more advanced, but it can connect multiple online apps via webhooks and APIs. And I know I'm probably going way over people's heads with this stuff, but it will do it automatically. We use Go High Level because we can have the consent forms on there and they'll send out the texts. Yeah, then Bridget, just upload it to whatever app you're going to use for sending out texts. Can you explain again how to calculate the LTV? Of course. So it is going to be, if you're looking at your software, your payment processing software, again, Stripe, Square, it's going to be take a time period. We'll say last year. The further you can go, the better, because you'll get a better average. But let's use last year for an example. So you're going to take the total gross revenue that the shop made, and then you're going to divide it by the amount of customers you had. Not the amount of tattoos done, but the amount of customers you had. And that will give you the lifetime value. Again, the further back you can go, the better, because it'll give you if someone just got tattooed last month, they probably haven't come in again if they're a new client. Maybe happens. But the further back you can go, the better. Did that make sense? Okay, cool. I'm sometimes terrible at explaining things. All right. So the next section we're going to talk about is running paid ads. Another question for you guys. 1, if you've run paid ads on Google or social media. 2, if you have never run paid ads before. Okay, cool. Seems like we got a pretty even mix of have and haven't. So we do have webinars that we have put on going over specifically running them on like Instagram Meta, and another one on Google Ads. And we'll attach that so we can go way more in depth. We only have like 15, 20 more minutes, so can't get super in depth, but we'll tell you the biggest mistakes we normally see, because these things work really well. I mean, again, the bigger shops that we work with and the biggest shops that we work with have gotten really successful using these. And the cool thing is, you figure out your LTV, you figure out a good ad that works. If you're in a bigger area, or not even a bigger area, I mean, I live in a smaller town of 50,000 people. This works really well. But you can start to just see the numbers. Like, you're going to pay $42 to get somebody in your chair. Okay, well, now you can just scale that and you can just spend more money. Like, there's especially in bigger areas, there's not a lot of diminished returns because tattoo shops usually don't have outrageous marketing budgets. And when I say that, like, we have a sister side to this company, Window Marketing Pros. We work with window replacement companies. Not something I work with anymore, but it's running itself. Anyway, but with them, we work with some huge companies that are, one's doing 62 million or did 62 million last year. And they're spending like $100,000 a city. Then you were worried about diminished returns. Both tattoo shops spending, if you're in a bigger area, $3,000 to $5,000 a month, you can go up to that without having diminished returns. So like if you're only running a couple thousand, our shop spends $17,000 a month in Google Ads. See, there are some bigger shops that do stuff like that. And it's really easy to scale these things, especially if you have like multiple locations, which, Richard, I'm guessing you have more than one shop, and you're in a bigger area. That would be my guess. So anyway, running paid ads. So advertising on Instagram, Meta ads. In the ad manager, which we'll talk about, you can run ads on Facebook or you can run ads on Instagram, or both. We have seen much better return on Instagram. So we typically spend most of the budget there. There's a few exceptions to that, but for the most part, one thing, if you're going to take away from this, is use the ad manager. A lot of people boost posts which is the super simple way to do it. But you lose about 90% of your targeting options. If you boost a post, you have to put a certain amount of days, or you usually put a certain amount of days, how much you're going to spend. So if you have a really good ad running, it's going to stop after you did that first. If you run it in the ads manager, you can run it until it stops working. So using the actual ad manager is one of the biggest and most helpful things, you can do if you're not doing this already. And typically it is, let's see, did I put where it is? It's going to be on the left-hand side of when you log into Facebook, in that little menu, it should say ad manager. Go into there, always run your ads from there. Unless you're boosting a post just for some visibility, but you're not trying to get people to call a shop, send messages, fill out a form, go to your website. If you're only looking for visibility, boosted posts are great. If you are actually looking to get a direct return on that and people into the shop, use the ad manager. Yeah, boosting posts is great for going viral. Richard, like you said, it's great for getting more eyeballs on it. In the ad manager, you can actually like say you want people to call the shop or fill out a form, and there's the pixel and stuff like that. It's a little more complicated. But boosting posts is definitely a really good way to get eyeballs on the shop. If you have a new location, if people don't know where you are, and compared to any kind of traditional media, it's dirt cheap. It's like a couple dollars to have or I think it's less than that right now, have $1,000 see your ad in your shop. It is ridiculously cheap. So why do you use the actual ad manager? Targeting options, like I talked about, you get a lot more targeting options in there. You can do, like if you are only a appointment only shop that only wants to do bigger pieces, you can go in there and you can say, hey, I only want the top 10% income earners to see my ads because those are the ones who can afford it. Stuff like that. You can upload your past client list. This is, like I said, this is where the magic is. And there's another reason it's worth, one, switching over, or two, putting into that past client list into some kind of an Excel sheet, because you can upload it to Instagram or into the Meta Ads Manager, and Meta will find people that look like your past clients and then show them the ads. And that's the biggest game changer, like as far as targeting goes, that most shops don't know about. But it'll be the biggest difference maker. You can decide where your ads are shown. Again, you can do Facebook, Instagram, the audience network, which is just kind of like, if you go to, I don't know, like Fox News and you see ads on the side, that's the audience network. It doesn't work super well, but it's pretty cheap. Much better analytics in the actual ad manager. And again, ads run indefinitely. So question for you guys again. I always like to do this. One in the chat if you've actually used the ad manager. I'm just curious. Right, so looks like one person. Yeah, not a ton of people know about it, but it's the biggest thing you can do if you want to be more successful with your meta ads. There's a much smaller learning curve than Google, and yeah, it does a lot. Okay, so here's an example of a successful meta ad that we are currently running for a shop we work with. The biggest thing is, for the first part, is the image. You want to get people to stop scrolling. That is the entire point of the image, is to get somebody to stop scrolling. And then you want to copy the words for people to read it. But it essentially goes in steps. You want to stop somebody with the image. You want to make them read. So call them out. Call, if you are in LA, hey, LA tattoo enthusiasts. Hey, LA residents who love tattoos. Something along those lines. And feel like this image, we've tested a lot of images. This one works really well. Unless you're like a only traditional shop or ornamental or something like that, put a wide variety of images. We've seen 4 works the best, works better than 2, works better than 9, works better than 6 in our testing. But show color, black and white, a traditional, something like a trash poke or something like that, or a fine line, something. 4 different styles. If your shop does that, it'll just appeal to a wider range versus if we just had like 4 NeoTrad images. If you want to screenshot that and try it, I don't care. Go for it. One thing, we teach everything that we actually do for our clients. There's no secrets here. So this works really well. Give it a shot. Just don't use the same images in the exact same copy, please. All right, how to make social ads successful. Audience needs to be on point. Again, that's one of the biggest things. Hold on, I'm sorry. Bridget is uploading client list to Meta only once the online waivers are in place. Yeah, or if you want to go back and put them into an Excel sheet, your client waivers, and then you can upload them. Again, with that, all you need is the phone number and it will figure out who the person is. But yes, this is one of the things that is awesome you can do with your past client list. And if you already have it online, just export it from whatever software you're using, upload it into the audiences in Meta Ads. And again, in our actual webinar on Meta Ads, we go deeper and I'll send that to everybody. So audience needs to be on point. If you're showing your ad to the wrong people, it's like, you're just wasting money. It doesn't matter if people, it's not tattoo enthusiasts. There's no real point in them seeing your ad, which is, again, one of the things I love about social media ads versus traditional. Everybody hears the radio, everybody sees the billboard. In Meta or TikTok, you get to choose who actually sees your ads. Split testing is key. We never run just a single ad. Even if we go back to, this is going to kick me out, isn't it? Oops. Can I go backwards? Nope. All right. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. So we never just run a single ad. You can do campaigns, ad sets. These are different levels. And then we do 3 ads per ad set. And you set the budget at the ad set level. So we always do 3, and all of them have different images. We usually keep the copy the same because we know it works for copy. But all of them have different images. One will always win. One will always do better than the others. It's very, very rare to see 2 that do the exact same or fairly close. You'll usually have a winner, a mediocre one, and then one that just doesn't work. And you just switch out the one that doesn't work with a new one once a week or once a month, depending on how much you're spending. Again, you don't have to get too complicated with it, but always have at least 3 different images running, because one will always do good. If you're only using one and it doesn't work, Meta is pretty good at what it does. It knows us. It knows which ones are going to be successful. So just give it enough information that it can test its own stuff. So yeah, split testing. Have a solid follow-up process in place. One of the biggest issues we run into is tattoo shops. Like they'll have someone request a consultation, it'll go into their email, they'll get to them like 4 days later, that person's already been tattooed, or the phone will ring and nobody will pick it up. At that point, you're just wasting money. When you do get a consultation request from social media or from Google or from anywhere, do not email them. If you look at my personal email, I almost want to bring it up because it's so embarrassing. If you look at my personal email, I have like 40,000 unread emails. I don't know how I got there. But if you look at my phone, the only missed texts I'm going to have and calls are the ones that have been since this webinar started. Do not email people, especially if it's from ads. These are a cold audience who don't know you versus word of mouth. People are willing to wait longer. Call them, text them, and then automate as much as possible. When a shop works with us, one of the things we set up is if somebody, let's say, fills out a form, it will go to the shop, but we'll also have an automation that will immediately send out a text saying, hey, we got your consultation request. We'll reach out shortly. And then we'll keep following up with them for a period of about 2 weeks until we get a response if the shop can't get a hold of them. And then we have a bot that books them into a consultation request. That's for a different day. But I know it's hard to get people at the front desk to continuously text and call, and somebody that puts out a form, if they don't get a hold of them the first time, most people probably give up or usually give up. But it takes on average 5 to 7 touch points to get a hold of somebody from social media ads. So just keep that in mind. Um, yep. So how we're successful with social media ads for our clients. Again, this isn't Google. This is people scrolling through. They see the ad. They're interested. They fill out a form. It's not like Google where somebody is actually looking up tattoo shop near me and then calling your shop. So follow-up is key because there's not as much intent behind the lead, if that makes sense. Another good thing about the automations is they work 24/7. You don't need to worry about a person being at the front desk or somebody not being able to respond immediately because the automation will do it for you. We follow up for 2 weeks, then they go into a long-term nurture sequence. So essentially they'll get an email once a month with shop news, guest artists, stuff like that. And then we have an AI bot, again, that schedules the consultation with a couple of our shops when that person responds. It's actually really cool. It doesn't sound like a bot. It's a little creepy. It sounds like chat. It's built off ChatGPT-4. But essentially we program this bot for a shop so it thinks it's the front desk receptionist and will reach out, talk to them about their tattoo. And I'll tell you, it's friendlier and gets better responses than almost any front desk person because it's happy and it knows what it's supposed to do. And it builds rapport with the people, asks them about the tattoo, the meaning behind it, and then schedules them for a consultation. And that works if you do in-person, Zoom consultations, or phone consultations. Anyway, that's again, something for a different day, but it's amazingly successful. Okay, advertising on Google. This was supposed to run for an hour. We have a little bit more. Are you guys okay with me going a little longer? And then I will answer the questions that I have in here. Okay. Okay, cool. Sorry. I love this stuff. So sometimes I can rattle along a little bit. All right, let me answer some questions. Richard, 100%. Nick, what are your thoughts on video instead of images? And what about dynamic creatives? We don't like dynamic creatives. It works. Don't get me wrong, but there's not good analytics behind it. So it's really hard to figure out which ad. If you add like 3 into the dynamic creative, it's really hard to figure out which was the actual winning one. But if we know which one wins, we can build versions off of it. So we like to manually test it, which is why we do the 3 and we don't do the dynamic creative. I mean, Facebook, if you put 3 under an ad group, 3 ads, it will essentially do the same thing. Like it will show the ad that is being more successful and take the budget from the other ones if they're not. So it essentially does that anyway. You just get to see the analytics behind it more. Again, versus dynamic creative, it's really hard to figure out which was the winner of the split test that it runs on its own. And thoughts on video versus images. We've always had better luck with images, which is kind of counterintuitive. You would think videos would do better. We've always had better luck with images, and we have split test that a lot. Plus, again, depending on your budget, the size of your town, it is much easier to create an image in like Canva. Canva is a free image creating app thing. But we built a template of those 4 and a couple other things, and it takes us 5 minutes to build, not even 5 minutes, 3 minutes to build a new creative after we know what works, versus a video takes much longer and then usually doesn't work as well. Again, and that is for direct response stuff. Videos are great, obviously, for reels, for building the brand awareness stuff. But the hard part is like what you're trying to do is get somebody's attention as they're scrolling. And unless you put like flashing lights in the beginning of a video, that's very hard to do versus an image that stands out with different colors and stuff like that. And like I said, it's easier. Sasha, what AI bot do we use? So we use a bot from closebot.io, where we can essentially tell it who it is, build it out, and then use it for the shops that we work with. There's a little bit in building the backend, nothing crazy. You just kind of have to tell it what it is, get the parameters and right. I mean, anybody can do it for sure. Just make sure you're testing it and watching its responses and then adjusting. But it's, I think, $100 a month. I might be wrong, but it's essentially like spending $100 a month, have a front desk person that works 24/7. That's a no-brainer. Okay. Oh my God. Google Ads tracking. Posting the right time of day. I'll be honest, we don't do a ton of actual social media posting. For clients, we do a lot of actual paid ads with brand awareness. So I'm probably not the best person to ask. Yeah, we don't do a lot of actual just organic posting. We do paid stuff. Bridget, is it weird to create ads and set up an AI bot, or do we need to hire someone to set it up? Easy. Yeah, again, the name of the bot service is closebot.io. Let me double check that before I tell you guys a long thing. AI. Closebot.ai is what we use. It's going to take a little bit of time. If you've never created ads before, if you've never gone through it, and like I said, I'll send over the webinar on it. But after you get it down, it's fairly easy, like anything. I mean, there's just a learning curve. The bot is, at least I thought, a little more difficult because you have to tell it its entire personality, its goals, when to shut itself off, stuff like that. But once you get it set up, it works really well. And again, if anybody's interested, we do this for all the clients we work with. If you want to schedule a free consultation with us, I'm not a very hard sale kind of guy. If it's a good fit, awesome. If it's not, we'll still try to help you as much as I can and answer any questions. Nick, what software do you use for SMS automations? We use Go High Level. Again, there's a little bit more of a learning curve there, but we basically have everything built out for the shops we work with in Go High Level. I think it's about $100 a month. So if you get past the learning curve, highly recommend. There's so much you can do in it. There's so much. Like what we're talking about is just scratching the surface. But also Closebot, the AI booking tool we use, connects with Go High Level, and that's how we have the conversations with people who request a consultation. And there's a million YouTube videos on setting up Go High Level, or if you have any questions, let us know. More than happy to help. I mean, that can be a webinar that we do, but super powerful. Again, having a front desk person that works 24/7 and never complains and always answers for $100 a month. That's pretty awesome. All right, advertising on Google. So Google, there are two different modes. Let me ask this. One, if you have run ads on Google. Two, if you have not run ads on Google. Okay, couple ones, mostly twos. Why we love Google is it's somebody going to Google to search for tattoo shop near me, tattoo artist near me. They're actually looking for a tattoo shop versus somebody on social media just scrolling through and saw your ad. So there's so much more intent. That person, if everything's set up correctly, is much more likely to call your shop, actually come in, actually get a tattoo, because that's what they're looking for. So there's two modes. If you build an ad account, it's going to automatically put you into what's called smart mode, or have smart ads. This is essentially a kind of a setup wizard. It's very easy to do, but kind of like boosting posts, it removes a lot of the options. It's still a great tool. It's still great to use as long as a few things are set up correctly, which we'll go over. But in expert mode, which is what we use for the shops we work with, you can get really, really in depth with a lot more stuff. It is a lot more work. Excuse me. It is. I normally don't recommend it because of how much, knowledge is needed, because Google makes it super confusing. If you don't want to spend a bunch of time learning it and you want to run Google Ads in expert mode, I recommend hiring somebody. If you're going to run it in smart mode, it works. We'll go over kind of the pros and cons of it. So like I said, smart ads versus expert mode. In smart ads, you lose almost the majority of your targeting options. In smart mode, you can't upload a past client list. You can in expert mode, but you have to have spent a lot of money. So that's, you can decide in expert mode where your ads are shown versus smart mode. It will just decide for you. Choose campaign types, much better analytics, and ads still running indefinitely. I feel like I forgot to hit that. Okay, so smart mode. Very easy to set up. You don't have to have a website. If you set up a Google My Business, like we talked about, like if you're an artist that doesn't, you're trying to do this for yourself. If you set up a Google My Business, you can run the ads to the GMB, to the Google My Business. It doesn't have to be a website. Suggest the website, but that's a way around it. And if you're new to Google Ads or you don't want to spend a ton of time learning it, you use smart mode. Cons, like I said, you lose a lot of the targeting options. One of the biggest issues with using smart mode is what it automatically decides a conversion is. So we want a conversion to be when somebody calls a shop and is on the phone for at least 45 seconds, because then it's not spam. You're actually talking to them as an interested person, or fills out a form. That's what we want Google to say is what we want. Smart mode by default is not set up like that. Like if somebody just looks at your Google My Business, if they click on your website, if they just hit the click to call button, it'll count that as a conversion. And to kind of put that in perspective, we're working with a shop that when we first started looking at their smart ads, I'll say they were very proud of the cost per lead, cost per conversion that they were getting. But almost all of them were click to calls. There were 64 click to calls, and there was only 7 phone calls that lasted more than 45 seconds, and it wasn't tracking those. So while it looked really good to the shop owner, when you actually looked at the analytics, it was fairly terrible. But that's one thing Google does, and it's definitely on purpose to make you, if you don't know a ton about Google Ads, it's definitely meant to make you think your ads are working well, even if they're not. And again, with smart mode, results usually aren't as good. Expert mode. This is how we set up the ads for the shops we work with. There's much more control of your ads, and the results are a lot better. But there's a steep learning curve, and we honestly recommend hiring somebody to do it if you want to do it this way. We have put on webinars, like hour-long webinars on just how to set up ads, and we still get a ton of questions. It's not very user-friendly. And again, there's a steep learning curve, and typically, even if you want to learn it, by the time you do, you've spent so much money trying to learn it, it was cheaper to hire somebody to set it up in the first place. Another thing with expert mode that's not on here is not set it and forget it. You can't set it up and then leave. You have to keep going in, adding negative keywords. There's a bunch of things that need to be done at least on a weekly basis. For example, we had a shop ask what we were doing in the Google ads. We've been working with them about 4 months, and we sent them the changes. And in those 4 months, we had made 453 changes to the ads that we're running. And that can just be adding a negative keywords, targeting options, stuff like that. But it's not set it and forget it. And you get better results, but it's a whole animal. And here's an example of a successful ad that we've run for Google, or we are running for Google. So you can see that we have the call outs at the top, the headlines, a little bit about the shop. And then these bottom things are called site links. Most shops don't set these up, but you always want to, because one, they're extra links that just take them to your certain places on your website or your landing page. But look how much bigger it makes the ad. The bigger the ad, for the most part, unless it's terribly written, is the one that wins, the one that takes up the most real estate. So we want to add as many things to. So if you look at a normal ad, they're like that big. Our ads are like that big. It takes up almost half the phone. If you're looking at it with all the stuff that we add, and that's what we want. We want it to be this big giant ad, and all these other ones. Like if you see this big giant ad with all this information, and then you see 2 other shops, and it's just this top part, ours looks way more professional. It's bigger, it takes up more space, it looks more professional, looks like more time was going to put into it. If someone's going to get tattooed, they're going to go with the person that looks more professional. All right, Google Ads, how to be successful. Is essentially the same as Meta ads. One of the big things is answer your phone. If you're paying, like you can set up a schedule so your ads only run when your shop is open. Answer your phone when it rings. You're paying for somebody to call you to, request a consultation or come in. So just make sure that you're actually answering your phone. And I'm gonna say, I mean, if I had $1 for every time a shop didn't answer their phone, I wouldn't need to do this. I'd be on an island in like Hawaii or something. But you're paying for it. Get the most out of it. And again, how we make it successful for the shops we work with, we automate it. Again, so 24-hour or 24/7, if somebody fills out a form, the bot reaches out. If they don't answer, we send more follow-up texts over the next few days. We only run the ads that have a phone call, that like have the phone number on the landing page when the shop is open. Follow up for 2 weeks, and then put them into a long-term nurture email sequence. Essentially, they just get an email once a month. And again, have an AI bot if you can, or if you want to hire us to do it. We're pretty good at it. Social media ads versus Google ads. Social media ads, great for getting your shop's name out there. Dirt cheap. You can pick who you want to see your ads. They can look exactly like your past clients. And you can show it to, within 20, 30 miles of your shop. And then everybody will know there. And it's dirt cheap. Cheaper than Google ads typically. Way easier than Google ads, at least in expert mode. The downside is you get those lower quality leads because it's somebody that's just scrolling through social media and saw your stuff versus going to Google actually looking for a tattoo shop. And the big upside of Google ads is somebody that went to Google looking up tattoo shop near me or tattoo artist Wenatchee or whatever, but they're actually looking for a tattoo artist versus just seeing it and passing on social media. Any questions? Okay, if I see one, I will answer it, but we'll move on to the next thing. Getting people that don't know who your shop is to connect with your shop, to call them, to try to fill out or to have them call your shop or fill out a form is half the battle. The next part is the follow-up process. After somebody fills out a form or calls your shop, you want to make this as simple as possible. Like you don't want somebody to call your shop like, hey, I'd like to get a tattoo, blah, blah, blah. Okay, come talk to an artist. And they tell them, yeah, go look at Instagram, find the artist you want, and then call us back. You will never hear back from that person. You'll have probably over an 80% drop-off rate. We just want to make this the simplest as possible for them. Which sites, I'm going to jump into this question real quick and then we'll keep going. Which sites are best to build your own website? So if you're actually building a website, WordPress is kind of the gold standard. There's plugins that make it easy like Elementor or Divi. If you want just a simple builder, something like Wix or Squarespace. So it kind of depends how familiar you are with building a website. Wix and Squarespace are going to be essentially drag and drop. WordPress can be with Elementor or Divi, but there's a ton of stuff on the back end. It's kind of the gold standard, like I said, ton of stuff you can do with it. As far as landing pages, which is essentially a one-page website just built for your ads, so it can have like the same messaging and everything. We use Unbounce. Very flexible, works really well. You can also build them in Go High Level, which is the software we've been talking about for follow-up and texting and stuff like that. So it kind of depends. If you want to shoot me an email after this, we can kind of talk about it a little bit more. All right. Speed to lead. What is speed to lead? Essentially, that is, and especially for Google, because it's somebody looking for a tattoo shop. What I like to kind of compare this to is if you have an issue with your plumbing, you call a plumber, they don't pick up, they're not going to sit around and wait for you. They're going to go call the next plumber on the list. If someone fills out a form, you want to get to them as fast as possible. That's why I recommend this not going to an email when somebody fills out a form. What we do is we text it to the shop, to either the front desk person or the shop phone if it can receive text, or the owner. Somebody fills out a form, you're getting a text 10 seconds later saying this person filled out a form. This is the name, number, email, description of tattoo, placement size, reference images. Reach out to them as quick as you can. 78% of people are going to go with the first tattoo shop they talk to. 15 are going to go with the second or third, and 7 are going to go with 4 or more. So getting a hold of people as quick as possible is huge. Don't send consultation requests to an email. Have it text to you. And that's another really good thing about having an automation set up or this AI booking bot is it's instant, 24/7. Within 20 seconds, they're getting a text saying, hey, this is Val from ABC Tattoo. I saw that you filled out a consultation request form. What were you thinking about getting? Yeah. Okay, real quick, Nick, is high level a flat rate, or does it cost go up for each feature you activate? So it's a flat rate for the most part. There's 3 different plans, $99, $299, $499. As a single shop, you only need the basic plan that's $99 a month. Unless you're putting multiple shops or locations on it, then you'd have to go up. But with one shop, you get, I think, everything or just about everything, anything you would need at that base rate. And kind of back to talking about the speed to lead. There's been so many studies done on this, so much research done on this. Because again, more competitive places, like, for example, the window replacement industry is huge, multi-billion-dollar industry that is extremely competitive. You go to Dallas, there's a window replacement company, it feels like every 2 blocks. It's nuts. And all these guys have call centers, and the biggest way to get a hold of somebody. And obviously, the tattoo industry isn't like that, but it's getting more competitive, and it's going to be. So if you are getting this down now versus when you have to, or else you're going to start losing artists. This is one of the biggest things. Someone is 21 times more likely, or you're 21 times more likely to get a hold of somebody if you call them or text them within the first 5 minutes of them filling out a form than after 30 minutes. Speed to lead is huge. And again, having some kind of automation set up for that exact reason is, it's game changing. All right. Any questions about that? So I'm trying to speed stuff up because I know we were supposed to be out of here. I'll answer any questions if they come in. Let me ask this. So does anybody put a 1 in the chat if you have a follow-up process for your front desk person or yourself, if you're the owner, or whenever a call or form fill comes in, or 2 if you do not at this point. I am curious. Okay, cool. So it sounds about actually like 50-50. Yeah, that's another one of those really big things. It's fairly easy to set up. Just have the expectations with your front desk person that you have. We always write out what's called an SOP, standard operating procedure. Like, okay, if a lead comes in, you call at 5 minutes, you call at an hour, whatever it is, it's an actual like this time. So there's no confusion or anything like that. Again, one of those things that's huge. Know your numbers. We kind of already went over this. This is a little more advanced with some of this stuff, but again, this goes back to being able to scale any paid ads that you have, knowing these numbers, knowing what is successful for your shop. Like if you don't have at least a baseline of, hey, this is how much it costs on average for us to get somebody in our shop, it's really hard to improve it. It's impossible to improve a number you don't know. So knowing these numbers, lifetime value, figure that out as soon as we get off this. Figure that out, go get Jotform. Those are the two things of homework. Cost per lead on any of these Google ads, Meta ads, stuff like that. It's going to be cost per lead, but it's essentially cost per consultation request, cost per whatever it is. Somebody filling out a form or calling the shop is their cost per lead. CPA is your cost per acquisition. How much does it cost to somebody actually get somebody in your chair being tattooed? Cost per click. It's a big deal on Google. How much does it cost? Google and all these other places, they're essentially bidding wars. You're going to tell them how much you're willing to spend to have somebody click on your ad. And And that's not the end all be all. There's quality scores, there's a few other things with Google Ads, but knowing your cost per click is important. And then click through rate. Out of, if 100 people see your ad, and 10 people click, you have a click through rate of 10%. Again, a little more advanced stuff, but just good things to start thinking about if you were going to run ads. And then, so in the future, probably in a couple months, we're going to have a marketing 102. Will essentially be using email, building out automations, using these scheduling bots, just a little more advanced stuff that we do with the shops that we work with. This was kind of an overview of like the basics, the stuff every shop should know, and ways for you, since most shops don't, for you to get ahead of them. Okay, I'm Jesse. This is Inklink. This is what we do. Again, if you want to get a free consultation, messed up shop right there in that. But you can either scan that QR code. You can go to inklink.com, ink-link, free 15-minute consultation. We just do a phone call. Yeah. Any questions I can answer for anybody? I know we went a little bit over, like 15 minutes, so I apologize. I'll put my email in the chat. Awesome. Well, if anybody has any questions, feel free to shoot us a message on Instagram. Shoot me an email. I just put it in the chat. We'll let you know the next time we're doing a webinar. If you think, anybody that this would be helpful to, we're going to edit this, get the replay sent out. If you know anybody that you think would be helpful for, let them know. They can get a hold of us. We can send it to them as well. And I hope you guys have a great day. I hope this was helpful. Figure out the LTV as soon as you get off this call. Sign up for Jotform or the other ones and get that going. Those are 2 actionable things that make a huge difference that you can do in the next 20 minutes. All right, guys. Have a great day.